So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the program. And we have Dr. Chitra Shankar and Dr. Uma Ramesh with us. A special welcome to both of them. So this evening, we will have the presentation from Dr. Chitra first, and later by Dr. Uma. So I think we can start. Are you ready, Dr. Chitra?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just quickly introduce Dr. Chitra to all of you. So Dr. Chitra is the clinical director of Pearl Singapore Fertility Center. She's also a researcher, blogger, speaker, and thought leader on IVF, based at Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Dr. Chitra did her graduation in medicine from Kakatiya University of Warangal and post-graduation in Gynops from Osmania University, Hyderabad, where she stood second in academic performance. Dr. Chitra worked in the Sultanate of Oman for a decade, where she specialized in advanced practices in gynecology and high-risk obstetrics. Back in India. In 2006, she went on to specialize in IVF from the University of Kiel in Germany and laparoscopic surgery under the tutelage of Dr. Rajesh Modi. She also obtained fellowship from World Laparoscopy Hospital. She founded Pearl Singapore Medical Center in 2012 in partnership with the world-renowned embryologist Dr. Suresh Katera from Glenangles, Singapore. Having always been academically oriented, Dr. Chitra Shankar earned her coveted MRCOG recognition from Royal College, UK. Dr. Chitra Shankar has been on forefront of research on infertility-related areas. She presented her research paper in ISAR 2020. She believes Indian IVF practitioners need to do more research, document, and present them in higher forums. Without further ado, please help me welcome. Put your hands together and help me welcome Dr. Chitra Shankar. Over to you, madam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramesh, for that nice welcome. And thank you, all of you who have joined today evening. I'm sure all of you are really, interested and keen to know what is happening with fertility and COVID. It would raise a lot of questions, even within your family, your friends circle, everybody would be having so many doubts whether they can conceive now, whether they can go for IVF or ART treatments and all that. So it's a very interesting and a very practical thing where I think every household faces this problem. So they need to have, proper guidance and understanding, and also reach out to doctors at the appropriate time, so that they can get timely treatment, because pregnancy is something, it is such a welcoming thing in a family. It is not like an illness. It is more of a joyful occasion and expectation for the whole family. And this COVID situation has really kind of made it very difficult for patients. Patients are very scared to go and meet doctors in this pandemic, and some of them who are really having infertility issues are not able to continue treatment. So basically the purpose of today's meeting is for you to understand what is happening in the field of assisted reproduction during this pandemic, and how we can reassure you and educate you regarding your approach towards the whole situation, and how you can confidently come to fertility centers and pursue your treatment. Basic purpose of this would be to educate you on that. So I would welcome more questions. I would keep my presentation quite short. Mr. Ramesh, how can I share my presentation now?
Yes, madam. You are a co-host. You can.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So.
Right, we can see that.
Yeah. Is it in the? Yeah. Is it clear now? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so a warm welcome to all of you. So this is the picture on one side of the egg and the sperm injection, which we do in IVF procedures, IVF and ICSI procedures. And the other side, you can see the dangerous coronavirus. Though it looks so beautiful like an egg, it could cause so much of damage to human reproductive system, which we are going to kind of see today. Okay, so as an intro, as I already told you, it could be really devastating for families who are actually trying for pregnancies. Suddenly, last year in 2020 March, we had a sudden shutdown, and patients who were undergoing fertility treatment, not only IVF or ICSI, not only bigger treatments, patients were in different levels of treatment, and suddenly all the clinics were shut. Nobody knew what to do, and it was a really pathetic situation, and patients couldn't approach anyone. And it was all of a sudden, it created a lot of havoc in the treatment process of a couple. And as I said earlier, this fertility and pregnancy is something families plan together. It's so much of a thing that they look forward to. They are so they are planning their baby, and all of a sudden such a pandemic comes and all the treatment is stopped. So it caused a lot of anxiety for the patients, and as well as doctors. We also did not know how to move forward with treatment during this pandemic. Obviously, we could not subject the patients to the risks of COVID. At the same time, we knew some of them really needed a strong fertility treatment, for which they had to come to the hospital. And for a few days, I would say, everything came to a standstill. Now, as we see, we have crossed the first wave and the second wave, and things have started to stabilize. Like we are seeing normalizing of activities in other areas, like people have started traveling, they've started visiting places, they have started going to work. You can see traffic on the road. Same way, again, as it is stabilizing, things are returning to normalcy, and therefore we have also restarted our fertility practices. Once the risk of COVID-19 infection is decreasing, all ART treatment can be restarted for any clinical indication. But we must remember one thing, that whenever we are starting any treatment during a pandemic, we need to be really vigilant. We have to be super cautious about our patients, doctors, about our staff, everyone, so that we don't spread the pandemic, but still manage to give them effective treatment. That would be the scenario that everybody wanted to get into at that time of the pandemic. So what happened? There are lots of societies that work in the field of IVF. For example, we have an Indian Society of Assisted Reproduction. We have a European society. We have American societies. Now, huge societies like the American societies initially came up with the recommendation that we need to stop all practices. I mean, nobody should come to the hospital. Nobody should continue with their fertility treatment. Postpone everything. This was what was mentioned. It came as a bang. It came as some kind of a shocking rule that we need to postpone everything. Even those patients who started, who were halfway through, they could not complete the procedure, and it was a really difficult time for everyone. So oocyte retrievals, the egg collections, the embryo transfer, all procedures were postponed. But then a more balanced approach was taken by the European Society, which took things into patients from a patient's perspective. And then they came up with really a very regularized form of treatment. A good regulatory approach was taken. A good, sensible, logical way to handle things was attained. How? By following certain rules, and that is called COVID appropriate behavior. When we all understand that, we can kind of move forward with treatment with the same efficacy and with high safety. And what is this COVID appropriate treatment? That started with something called a simple questionnaire, which we gave to patients. Like, it had all these questions. Have you been sick? Did you have fever? Are you coughing? Do you have a sore throat? Have you lost your sense of self? Very simple questionnaire that the patient would fill. Have you traveled to an area? Do you have contact with the patient who has tested positive? Have you been actually diagnosed with COVID? Have you recovered in the recent past? Now, with this questionnaire, and also we had in Pearl Singapore Fertility Center, we had the Arogya Setu Sat app set up, and all the patients had to give in their address, and we would check with the app to see whether they were coming from the very concentrated areas. And with the help of all of this, the European Society guidelines we followed, and with the help of all of this, we basically categorized patients into 3 categories. One is all the questions that were asked, if they were all negative answers, like no, absolutely fine patients could be taken for treatment. Now there are some patients who are absolutely positive. We know they are running cold, cough, fever, or they've tested positive for COVID. They were asked to postpone the treatment. Now there were some patients who were coming in the middle category where we would have some doubts about them, whether they could be positive. So with this questionnaire, we managed to, then in those suspected patients, we would do SARS-CoV antibodies, which is a simple test, not very expensive. And depending on that result, whether if they were positive, they would come to the scenario 3 and they would be advised to postpone the treatment. If they were negative, they would go up into the scenario 1 and they would continue the treatment. Now, this became a very sensible approach, and slowly all IVF centers started using this approach and started giving services to their patients. So scenario 1, where they were triaged as low risk, we would take them for treatment. But again, here we know that we need to be sensible. Some patients who have who do not have a real problem in terms of age or the severity of their infertility, younger patients who had time, we would advise them to take a couple of months to and then come back. But patients who are bordering at the age of 35, 40, who had to undergo treatment quickly, it was a very useful tool to triage them this way and take them in for treatment. Then we had the category 2 where we would test and then take them. Category 3, we would allow them to settle down, and if they were COVID positive especially, we would ask them to finish their treatment, and completion of 3 months after the infection or 2 months after completing being asymptomatic, not having any symptoms, complete recovery that is, then we would include them in the treatment. So this is how it went for all the procedure. And always when we were taking patients for any kind of fertility treatment, we would again, like apart from this triage questionnaire, we would always follow absolute 3 rules, that is social distancing, mask, and sanitizing. And our staff are absolutely very well aware of this, and they would give appointments every 10-15 minutes so that no 2 patients stand at one particular time at one particular spot. There would be so many places in the area, like scan, consultation, billing, injections, laboratory, but they would be given time slots and they would come in that time slots, and it was clearly maintained. And we start everybody was, all the fertility centers started with kind of a very programmed, with less number of patients, giving more time, more distance. And that's how we kick-started the IVF. And we had really taken up this infertility treatment without spreading the infection. That was the most important aspect of it. So this is just this thing, like if you could go ahead with the procedure, if the questionnaire and the tests were negative. So now, it is indeed tough for patients to decide about ART procedure. Now, however much I would explain to them that you are a very low risk patient for COVID and you really need fertility treatment, still they have a lot of doubts in their mind, because everybody was even scared to come out to meet doctors. They were scared to even look at the other person during the pandemic. So it was a very tough decision for patients to make, to whether to go or not to go to the doctor. So that is where we really followed the teleconsultation. We would spend a lot of time giving slots on teleconsultation, do about 15-20 minutes of consultation, understand the problem, then decide which patient needs to come into the center and which patient can wait. So they actually did a survey on the emotional impact due to COVID-19, and actually it was surprising to see that the 50% of patients who had planned treatment before the pandemic and the lockdown, 50% of them were cancelled. And when they did the survey, they realized that 78% of them said that they were very disappointed with the cancellation, because it's a lot of expenditure, a lot of expectation and planning. So the societies and the whole fraternity did understand that cancelling an IVF cycle was not very acceptable to patients, and the emotional impact of the cancelled fertility cycles were quite high. If you can see, it's about 85% of the patients said that it was very upsetting for them to have cancelled the cycle, because they have started it with a plan in their mind, with a target of coming for treatment, having an embryo transfer, having a pregnancy, moving forward when they would deliver, like a life event has been planned for them, and all that went for a toss, and it was quite upsetting. This survey shows that emotionally very, very few people were actually not unhappy. Most of them were found it quite upsetting to have cancelled the cycle. This says the same thing, especially when they had to have IVF. When they were told IVF, patients wait till that time. They see if they conceive naturally, they see if they conceive with simpler methods. But once they are told that they need IVF, and they prepare themselves financially, psychologically, logistically, every other ways they prepare themselves, and at that time when it is stopped, they get quite, it is quite a disturbance on their entire plan. And as you can see, again, about 55 to 60% of them really felt that they disagreed with the postponement of cycles. So the desire to start a new cycle was actually, there was again a survey that was made asking patients if they would want to start a new treatment cycle, and 51% of them answered that they would start a new cycle, and 24 were unsure. Now this is the important aspect here. The unsure people have to know what is happening in IVF, how they would be coming to the hospital, how they can prevent themselves from getting infected and still move ahead with the IVF program and still achieve a pregnancy in a safe way. So this is what is the important, responsibility of us physicians and our fraternity as a whole, to make patients understand, because fertility is a time-bound thing. So if you lose 1 or 2 years, you are losing out on time, and you are getting into more and more as you get older, the fertility treatment success rate is less, and the pregnancy complications, miscarriages are all more. So now that this pandemic seems to be continuing at its own pace, and we have learned to live with it, I think it's time that we realize that probably we need to opt towards safe treatment. So having said all this, I would just like to conclude by saying that there is no need to change your plan to get pregnant if you're tested COVID negative. Remember this, if you're negative, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to use contraception. You can, fine, if you have to plan a pregnancy, you can go ahead and plan a pregnancy. Now, if you think you have the privilege or you have the time to postpone a pregnancy during a pandemic, if you're young, and as a precautionary measure, if you want to, you could postpone a pregnancy, but there is no need to change your plan to not to get pregnant during this COVID period, especially if you're negative. Now, if you have tested positive, definitely there is a reason to plan to postpone your pregnancy, use effective contraception and postpone your pregnancy. But at the same time, if you have not planned and you have conceived unknowingly during the COVID time, there is no need to panic. There is no need to terminate the pregnancy. Could move forward with it. Only thing is, you could postpone diagnostic tests for artificial reproductive technology, assisted reproductive techniques. That is, sometimes we plan patients for diagnostic procedures like diagnostic hysteroscopy, laparoscopy to check the tube. Those are all surgical procedures. Sometimes a patient may be waiting for fertility treatment to have a fibroid removed. Now, those kind of procedures you could definitely postpone, because they are elective procedures, and you can postpone them for a couple of months till you feel safer. Okay, and any surgical procedure, emergency surgeries have to be done. Obviously, if you're having pain with appendicitis, you need to do it. But if a procedure like removing a fibroid, which was planned and elective and can be postponed for a couple of months, it could be very well done. If you think you're pregnant, get the routine test to confirm pregnancy. Focus, and now in this pandemic, I think a very important message, focus on improving general health. People have a lot of time. I think they are eating homemade food. They have enough time to walk, time to spend with family. So that's a great thing to do. And also lifestyle changes like stopping smoking and alcohol. could in fact improve their outcome of assisted reproduction. Focus on nutrition and schedule a consultation before starting the treatment cycle. Here I would like to say, if you do not feel confident of coming to a hospital, please approach your doctor through teleconsultation and have a good idea before you come into the clinic. Don'ts would be, if you have COVID, try not to get pregnant or plan ART. If you are negative, you are safe. If you are having the infection, please try to concentrate to address the infection, feel better. After recovery, you must plan pregnancy or any kind of infertility treatment. Do not initiate new treatment cycles if you are having COVID. Do not panic if you have already initiated ART process. There is no immediate threat to the safety of the cryopreserved eggs, sperms of embryos. Again, there are lots of people who may not know. They would have gone through an IVF cycle, and we have preserved we would have frozen the eggs or the sperms or the embryos, but then COVID would have struck. They start panic. They call us asking what will happen to my eggs or embryos. Nothing will happen. If it has been already frozen, nothing would happen. Do not panic if you're pregnant. As pregnant women, do not appear to be at greater risk of illness related to COVID. Do not panic, as it is unclear if COVID can cause the placenta and affect the baby. There is very limited data on pregnant women, but still there is adequate evidence to say that it is not an illness that is particularly more predominant in pregnancy. It depends on the severity of the COVID that you get. Just because you're pregnant, it doesn't mean that you're going to have severe COVID or you're going to have a COVID-related severe illness. Do not lose hope. As a last and not the least, do not lose hope, as normalcy will definitely be back soon. So thank you so much. Now the next talk would be done by Dr. Uma Ramesh.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. It was very reassuring for in this pandemic times for the prospective mothers and fathers out there to hear from an expert about the situation and about how they should be handling the situation. And there is even though the pandemic is still not completely gone, there are opportunities right now itself to proceed with this option, but of course with the care that need to be taken during the pandemic, because especially the SMF,
basically we are equipped to handle it. Yeah,
exactly. So it was very reassuring. So thank you very much, Dr. Chitra, and we can have questions I think later. We'll have next Dr. Uma's Ramesh's presentation. So let me give Dr. Uma, you're there, right? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, I think we don't see your video. Okay, welcome. So let me just give a brief introduction about Dr. Uma Ramesh. So Uma Ramesh again is the clinical director at the Pearl Singapore Fertility Center and Research Institute. Dr. Uma Ramesh is a founding partner and recently associated with as medical director and active full-time clinical consultant at the PSFP and Women and Childcare Velachery. She's also an infertility specialist and well-experienced gynecologist and obstetrician with 2 decades of committed work in her profession. Graduated from the Stanley Medical College, and she also did her post-graduation from Armed Forces Medical College, Pune. She received her Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award in 2003 for the best outgoing student in Diplomat of National Board on all India basis. She underwent training in Keele University, Germany, and ART Singapore for advanced fertility treatment. Also participated as a faculty in various fertility conferences in ISAR, Chennai. Without further ado, please help me welcome Dr. Uma Ramesh. Let me give the presentation for her. 1 second. Presentation is open. You can
Yeah,
see the
thank
screen,
you.
right?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Thank you for the nice introduction. And can I know whether the people who are attending are mostly from Tamil Nadu, or should I use the local language also in between, or continue to talk in English?
I think you can use a mix. I think most people probably can understand both Tamil and English. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, so how to conceive during this COVID times? That's the question. So let us take a view on how, or what are the contents I'm going to talk is what is happening to the fertility during COVID times. Yeah. See, first thing is, does COVID affect fertility? That is a main issue that many of us are talking about. And whether COVID affects male and the female fertility, and why it is to be detected early, and when to meet a specialist. And as Chitra said, we will give you some tips to conceive safely, and what are the options that are present now, and what does our ICMR says during COVID times to take treatment. Next slide, please. Okay, so first thing we all should know, we are not the only people having fertility issues. So what is happening in India is around 30 lakh couples are taking infertility treatment every year. Out of the most of them conceive only with simple treatment, a small consultation, a small change in lifestyle, and a small medical management which they need to undergo. But 5 lakh people out of the 30 lakh people, it is only 5 lakh people they have to undergo certain procedures like IUI and IVF. And during this COVID 2020, all of them came to a sudden halt in this March. So many people were ongoing treatment. Some people have planning to take treatment during the holidays, and fertility treatment suffered a lot. So when you take over the whole world in 75% of the countries, the next slide, please. In 75% of the countries, infertility was not regarded as an essential service. So the infertility practice was actually totally halted because only essential services were allowed to perform. 60% what they did, they modified the policies, saying that certain people can undergo, certain people cannot undergo. Who are the people who thought that fertility treatment is essential for them is the person who's getting married, say up to 35 years, because when they wait, the eggs and the sperms, the quality comes down, the number comes down. So in these countries, they thought for older people, more than 35, it is an essential treatment. They allowed certain modified policies where they could do certain treatment. In 82.5%, ART centers were completely closed, or they actually offered only limited access, like online consultation. What happened when people were given online consultation? Only 1.9% of them uses telemedicine service. Telemedicine service, if you see, when you send all your reports which you are having to the doctor, sometimes you may be needing some essential services where you can see the treatment only based on the reports. So where do the patient go for taking the reports? All of them were not able to do the teleconsultation service. Only 1.59% utilized, and we don't know how many of them really benefited. And ART centers were closed due to government. Government said these are all has to be closed. And sometimes some people did it voluntarily. And see, when we are doctors, we feel that we need to do more to the people who are affected by COVID than to fertility. And so many of them, from the professional guideline, we had to close our center. So reproductive health actually was a big setback during this COVID times. But then we now know that COVID is not going to go, and then we have to manage making people pregnant. And so we started these services on a smaller basis, but then we learned to do how to take up the total services, which is now undergoing properly. So what, next slide, please. So we used to do this triage like what Chitra said, and then we used to check the temperature, and then we used to see the pulse rate. We used to ask some questionnaire. We used to maintain social distancing. Keeping all those things in the mind, we asked them to come to the clinic. what happens when COVID affects male and female fertility? There is something called ACE receptors. ACE receptors means that is a receptor where the virus will go and sit and then multiply. This ACE receptors is present more in the lungs and some in the throat. That is the reason why when COVID affects, this ACE receptors helps to attract the virus. So which is present more in the lungs, more in the base of the lungs. So when these people have COVID, once the ACE receptors are more in the lungs, the virus actually goes and sits in the lungs and start and multiplying. But unfortunately, this ACE receptors is present even in the male and the female reproductive system, both in the testis and the female reproductive organ. So what happens is the virus goes and sit in the reproductive system also, mostly in patients who are asymptomatic also. And then when we check the fertility, say after 3 or 4 months, we find that many of the patients have a low count. Next slide, please. And many of them are having a low count, and the testicular injury was observed. Say after 3 months, when they say, okay, we have got COVID, now that I'm actually free, I have taken the vaccination. And so when they come and see, fever itself actually affects the sperm production. The sperm parameters and motility were altered. And then when we did a scan, then we found there was a testicular injury. And moreover, because of the decreased testosterone level, these patients were not able to have even a normal sexual intercourse, which they say was not very interesting to them after having COVID. The stress can actually cause a lot of things in the female. Stress itself can cause endocrine imbalance, affecting the oocyte quality and the reproduction. And it also disturbs the ovarian function as well as the tubal function. And so many of them people were having fertility issues. Next, please. Next slide. So India is still experiencing COVID cases. It is still going to continue. Nobody knows actually when it will get over. So in India, though ART centers were closed, they have started reopening since last July or August. And slowly we started doing fertility for people who really need it and those who cannot afford to wait. And now once we actually started vaccinating and we know the protocols, we have started actually doing more of IVF and IUIs like what it was like pre-COVID times. So early detection of infertility is very important because certain patients who actually cannot wait or the ones who are having lesser ovarian reserve, having lower testicular volume with low count, and who have actually having a lot of social pressure. So for these patients, we have to start treatment earlier. And so fertility detection is very important for them, even in the midst of COVID. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so now that you know that we are actually treating COVID, you have to know what are the problems and women should start having treatment is polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, and primary ovarian insufficiency. Let me go into the detail. PCOS. PCOS is a lifestyle problem. Mostly it is genetically mediated, but then it gets manifested when somebody has an unhealthy lifestyle, like physical inactivity and then overeating and stress. All these things actually multiply during the COVID times, where because of lockdown, we are not able to take down our regular activities. We have our gyms have started closed, and so we started putting on weight. We sat inside, especially during the first wave. We tried to do all cookery and then eat them. And so all this in uncertainty and then disturbed lifestyle causes a lot of polycystic ovarian syndrome. Endometriosis is a problem where the tissue which has to be inside the uterus starts growing outside the uterus. So what happens is as each period increases, the endometriosis problem increases. So waiting for almost 2 years now down the COVID, we find that people who are in stage 1 have now progressed to stage 2 endometriosis. Uterine fibroids are also one of the main reasons for people who are not conceived. Some may need surgical intervention, for whom the surgical intervention is now being postponed because they are having COVID problems, and anybody who has COVID has to wait for 3 months before we take them for elective section, any surgeries. Primary ovarian insufficiency. Nowadays, because of changing lifestyle, people get married late, and then when a patient is under age 40 but over age 35, her ovaries will start slowly functioning in a decreased manner, and these people need to be treated immediately so that they don't have to go for a donor egg program. Next slide, please. Next slide. So from my side, you can conceive safely during the COVID pandemic. You need not actually show any negligence or disturbance instead of coming to the clinic. And you also should know that COVID affects male infertility, but it is not sexually transmitted. They have done a research and they found out from the vagina, if you take a sample of the semen and then test it, we did not find any COVID. So don't get panicked that COVID may be transmitted. It is not sexually transmitted. It is treatable. And I think you should be very positive to come to the clinic in case you feel that you need to take a treatment. Next slide, please. So there is no, there are so many things. Tips is, there is no data saying that COVID transmits through vaginal secretion. There is no recorded evidences of breast milk being tested for COVID. So actually you can safely conceive and then you can breastfeed the baby. Only thing like SMS, sanitizing, wearing a mask and social distancing, and unnecessary travelings, and then bringing down COVID to the family, and sanitize all the surfaces that a conceiving mother may touch regularly, so that even if she touches, because of sanitizing effect, the COVID dies. And whenever you're using water bottles and regular using utensils, if you sanitize and then use it, I don't think you need to be panic about conceiving. Next slide, please. Okay. So other thing is, do a teleconsultation. Only when the doctor feels that you need to visit them, please do that. Actually, you can do 45 to 60 minutes of walking daily. Don't do masterly inactivity at home. And because of uncertainty, I know all of us are affected with mental health, but take care, do something which is interesting to you, sleep well and stay hydrated, eat healthy, and just get vaccinated. Vaccine is one of the most important things that you can actually do. So, and then you can come to the clinic. So next, all reproductive medical staffs we are here in PSFC are fully vaccinated. They're educated about how to deal with COVID patients and non-COVID patients. And they also know how to do the teleconsultation to restart treatment. And all the services, including IUI, IVF, and then frozen embryo transfer are all started. So I don't think you need to panic. You can come to the clinic to take the treatment. Next slide, please. Next slide. So first thing in teleconsultation, what do we actually tell the patients? Some people have almost all the doubts which can be cleared. And other smaller treatments where we do a scan, we see the follicular study. The third treatment, most of them 5 lakh people need, is IUI and IVF. What is IUI is, in which a sperm is washed and prepared and then placed into the uterine cavity, so that it gives a better pregnancy rate. It actually doubles the pregnancy rate when compared to the normal sexual intercourse. In IVF, it is little bit different than an IUI, where the egg is retrieved outside the body, processed, and then made into embryos with the sperm collected from the husband, and then made into an embryo and then transferred back into the uterine cavity. And then after 15 days, when we do the blood test, we will know whether the patient is conceived. Next slide, please. See, this is a clinical demonstration where there was a IUI procedure which is done. There are other processes like sperm donation, egg donation, embryo donation, and gestational surrogacy. All these 4 things, the third party reproduction was totally affected during the corona period, because sperm donation usually it is got from the bank. So there was no problem of having thinking whether the sperm had a COVID or not, because it comes to the bank. The egg donation was affected because egg donor has to undergo all the stimulation and then take the eggs be retrieved out. Because of this lockdown and this COVID problems, we were not taking all these egg donation and ovum donation. Now that vaccination has started, the COVID has come down, we have started this egg and ovum donation. Embryo donation is also already there. So these people can also come and take treatment. Surrogacy was a problem when first thing is there was a lot of law regarding surrogacy, but then the government has allowed certain degree of surrogacy. But then because of the COVID times, we were not able to do the surrogacy because we could not get a woman who could stay with us and then do the procedure. But now that COVID has come down, vaccination is there. So we have started the gestation surrogacy process also. So it is not a problem that you can come to the clinic and take or even the third party reproduction. Next one, slide please. Next slide. So key principle, what does the ICMR or our Indian Council of Medical Research says is, you provide ART for high risk, but take to see to that they have undergone triage, they have been vaccinated, and next slide please. And mainly we see to that the diabetes is controlled, because we have been in and out seeing that people with diabetes are having a lot of COVID problems. And ICMR also tells us that before any treatment is started, get an COVID RT-PCR, and treatment will be started only when RT-PCR is negative. And all our staffs have undergone RT-PCR testing, and they are all negative. We do on in rotations, and all our equipments and services are all sanitized, and then they're modified according to ICMR guidelines. All this diagnostic, ovarian stimulation, oocyte retrieval, and embryo transplants, the people who are undergoing ART triage questionnaire and they are found to be negative, and they are undergoing treatment. Mental health of the couple, physician, and ART staff are also taken well care in our Pearl Singapore Fertility Center. Next slide. So now that you can conceive, come to the hospital very boldly and take whatever treatment you feel will be suiting you. It's all provided under one roof. And I think many of you will have so many other questions individually. You can bring it in the forum, and me and Dr. Chitra can be answering it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramesh. Again, once again, very reassuring for the patients, prospective mothers and fathers out there. So, like the doctor has also mentioned about the teleconsultation opportunities available. So I have just put in the chat box about the way that appointments can be booked. There's a link, then video consultation can be booked with them. Okay, so now we can go to the question to either Dr. Chitra or Dr. Uma. So yeah, please feel free to get your questions answered. Wants to go first? I think, yeah, it's a good opportunity for you to clear any kind of doubts you might have or fear, as they mentioned about, yeah. Who is this?
See, I think, I mean, there are no questions that are forthcoming. So I'd like to emphasize a few points that the semen parameters are really being shown to be affected by this COVID infection. So anyone who's planning a pregnancy, especially if the male partner gets COVID, it's better after they finish it, definitely not to undergo treatment during that period, because the sperms have shown to have the SARS-CoV infection. And at that time, if they do ART, like putting those sperms into the egg and creating embryos, it could damage the whole thing. So this general, I think, knowledge everybody should have, and they must get their COVID vaccination first thing to prevent COVID from happening. And if COVID happens and they have not got infected, once they become all right, they must come to check their sperm count, because this is one problem which is consistently being reported in all the studies, that the testis has lot of most of the testis cells. They have 4 or 5 types of cells in the testis. All of them are shown to be rich in this ACE receptors to which the COVID virus binds. So therefore, it causes a lot of damage to the sperms in terms of reduction in the amount of sperms, the movement, more of DNA damage to the sperms. I know you would have known earlier something like mumps, mumps, like you get swelling of the parotid glands. And at those days when you had childhood mumps, the boys used to be infertile at a later point of time. When they come for fertility, they will show no sperms in their semen analysis. So similarly, COVID virus is also specifically affecting the testis. So it is one of the causes of male infertility in the current situation. So better anyone who has had COVID and who wants to try for a baby, approach a fertility center and get the semen parameters checked. I would like to make this point clear, and also help make a point for vaccination, because they also did a study wherein they took the semen samples before vaccination and after vaccination, and they found no difference in the semen parameters, the count and the movement and all that. But before infection and after infection, there was a big difference in the count. There was a drop in the count and lot of abnormal sperms and lot of fragmented sperms. So one should understand this information and definitely go for vaccination and come to a fertility center to test their semen.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Chitra. And we have another question from Archana, and she's asking, in the current situation, we are not exactly allowed to go outside for walks during lockdowns. What other exercises can we go for?
Can I answer this question? Yeah. See, it is not necessary that you should go for longer walks. You can actually do walking around your house, or actually you can go for walking on the upstairs, or just climb stairs, and then you can do some yoga. And other thing is, keep a point on the diet. Diet should be something more proteinaceous and less of carbohydrates. And then because of the uncertainty, we see a lot of mental issues coming. So I think you should try to do something which makes you happy. Another thing is we saw a lot of people getting addicted to the cell phones and then smartphones during this COVID season. And the time passes like that. We found that when you use this cell phones and laptops, the external radiation also can cause fertility. So I think that we should restrict our hours to be on screen, and lots of doing WhatsApps and believing so many WhatsApp messages. We see a lot of patients going in for treatments like taking like hot water steam and taking hot water bath, which is all not very actually healthy for a male or a female fertility. So I think good diet, good nutrition, and do whatever is possible within your limits will be the best thing. And we have also come across people who say that they want an abortion just because they had a COVID at the 2nd month or 3rd month. It is absolutely not necessary they need to go and undergo an abortion just because they had COVID. We have seen a lot of patients and delivered a lot of patients who were affected by COVID. So no need to go for abortions. Only thing we advise is whenever they have COVID, we need to have this 15 days of quarantine, which is actually making the patients mentally sick. So I advise all the patients who are going for fertility treatment or planning for a pregnancy or pregnant to take the vaccine as soon as possible, so that they can prevent all these hazards from developing.
Yeah. Yeah, now there is, all these online classes have become quite popular. There are Zumba and so many other classes online.
Yes.
You could just log in and do it from your home. And actually outside air, open air is quite a safe place. If you have a good community park where you can go and walk and still have a social distance maintenance, it is perfectly okay. Otherwise, you could do your home bound exercises, whatever. You can log into your online yoga classes. That's what I tell most of my patients. In fact, you don't need to take your car, park it somewhere and go to your class. You just log in from your home, the comfort of your home, and you can do your activities. Pretty much the dietitians, your physical trainers, all of them are available online. So you could use those facilities. As Dr. Uma said, don't fear it. In fact, I had one of my own relative who underwent IVF with me, and she was tested. She tested positive for pregnancy, and within a week, she tested positive for COVID. I could not even call her for the first ultrasound. We did the ultrasound only at around 7 weeks, and the baby was fine. And now she's in the 5th month of her pregnancy, all going fine. This I'm just telling to reassure you that things, though there is no need to panic. You could move with your plan until and unless you are positive. Even if you are positive, just follow your doctor's advice. Be calm. It's not something that you need to panic about and immediately go for a termination. You could just take care of your general health and continue the pregnancy. I believe someone in their family had COVID and her father, and through him she got COVID, but the pregnancy progressed quite well. These are all our personal experiences. Even after IVF conception, some people do end up in a situation like that, but provided you are in touch with your doctor and doing the right thing, things are fine.
Great. I think that was a great presentation, and hope there were more people. We have about 25 people, close to around 25 people attending. But I think this presentation, we will get the recordings also for you, so that you can, I think this will, people can benefit from that. You can post it in other places like YouTube channel and everywhere, so that, other prospective mothers and fathers, they can benefit from this presentation. So, so all of us, I'm sure all of us should thank Dr. Chitra and Dr. Uma for giving a very elaborate presentation and talk on how to conceive and how to have babies during this pandemic. So because this pandemic itself is very panic, it brings that kind of a situation. And so thank you very much. Any other questions from anybody? Questions? We have 3 more minutes to complete the hour. So if any quick question, we can answer. So Rama is
actually, there is no need to panic at all. We have to live with COVID, and we have to actually cultivate our habits so that we live with it but still don't get infected. So I think it is always, we see so many people in the roads not wearing masks. I advise whoever is watching to advise other people to wear a mask so that we all can remove it after some time when the COVID is gone. Till that COVID is going to be continuing and we are all going to be panicking.
Yes.
Yeah, but at the same time, Rama, you are saying something.
No, thank you, Dr. Chitra and Ramesh. This is very, very useful, So, I mean, as we are volunteering from Heartfulness Meditation Centers, as for the vaccination, all these common questions: can pregnants take vaccination? Do I need to fear to plan for pregnancy? Very, very useful. In fact, I'm quite impressed. Even though it's very early morning, I thought whether to attend or not. I'm attending from California. I think it's very worth. I will take a essence here and there, very important ones, and I'll put the essence sharing group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rama. All right. So anything else? Vinod, you there, Vinod?
Thanks a lot, Dr. Chitra and Dr. Uma. I think it's a fantastic presentation, and I think you have explained so much, and I am sure that this particular video is going to help a lot of mothers and fathers, and I am sure that we'll utilize it that way. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation, both of you.
So
Thank
we are very proud to, from Jaldi, we are very proud to associate with this event. And so, yeah.
Vinod, can you hear me?
Right,
Yeah,
Raj,
yeah,
Rajendra Mohan, yes.
yes, Mohan, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. Dr.
evening.
Chitra, Dr. Uma Ramesh. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Ramesh from Jaldi.com, where, ma'am, they have been working for the past 15 to 20 days enormously, ma'am. Thank you, Ramesh, and
Thank
Vinod.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohan.
ma'am. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Dr. Uma Ramesh and Chitra, ma'am. I know your busy schedule. In spite of your busy schedule, you have been able to allot this time also, and for your excellent presentation also, ma'am. Ma'am, they will be following it up, ma'am, for further also for a video consultation or how to take forward also with your thing. But it was really a useful presentation. I think it is worth it, ma'am, spending 1 hour time with the patients also, ma'am.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you from
Thank you.
Team PSFC to all of you for having, had this program today. And we had a really nice time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And see you next time, I guess.
Thank
See
you.
All the very best to all of you,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Same to you.
doctors
Yeah.
and prospective mothers, fathers, and all the friends out there. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
All
good
the
night.
best to all the participants. Hope you've got some tips today. So take care of yourselves and get vaccinated. And don't,
Yeah.
fear coming to hospitals or approaching doctors.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Very,
Thank
very,
you.
very reassuring, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
ma'am.
All right. So, okay. Thank you and good night to all of you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.